Would you use your cards as currency to pay some things or flip them as actions? Which companies are you going to buy shares and benefiting from? Well, these are just some of the unique mechanics of Salton Sea, where you are mining brine to generate geothermal energy to sell or fulfill contracts. And hello everyone, I'm Stella and this is Tarrant from Meeple University, and welcome to our 7-point review of Salton Sea. So what we're going to do is we're going to share you the information and overview of the game, and we're going to get into the 7-point review, which is the theme, the artwork, the mechanics of the game, how the personal puzzle and interaction between players, and who this game is for, and maybe there are other similar games, and how the game makes us feel, and the overall summary. So before we get into it, if you enjoyed this review after watching it, please hit the like button and let us know in the comments if you like industry and mining themed board games. So let's get into the information. Start.
Yep, so this game is published by Devio Games, first release of 2024 for them. This is designed by David Bernal. It's a 1 to 4 player game, so it has a solo mode. It's probably a medium complexity Euro.
And we actually get an advanced review copy of the game. So let's get into the overview, and starting with the thematic overview. So the Salton Sea is a real place located in California, and there's a real story behind this game, also listed in the rulebook, about potential solution to energy sources, to mine brine, to turn into lithium and energy, and that's what we do, mining, extracting the brine and turn into energy. We also engine build our board, managing currency and actions, because there are multi-use cards. We are fixing things that are broken and fulfilling contracts, 4 points. Now let's get to the game overview now.
Yeah, so as you described, the game goes through all the various, really all of the steps of mining and processing. So you need to lay claim to mining licenses essentially in the ground. You need to drill. That could cause some damage to your equipment. Then you need to extract brine, and you've got a warehouse for that. You've got these processing machines that you can use to turn brine into either energy or lithium.
This is your resources.
Yep. And from there you can sell those over to the investment companies here. So these are a share and price track, and across the game, as you sell to things, the companies are going to get more valuable and the share price will go up. And players will be buying shares, cashing them in for points at the end of the game, and bonuses the faster they go up. There is a big engine build component where players have the business development track to get more warehouse and more meeples. And the meeples are all action points. So every round you will take a certain number of actions depending on the number of meeples you have. And those could be on your player board or from cards in your hand.
So these are the points, that kind of like worker placement.
Yes. And so the cards all represent generally stronger versions of the actions on your board, but they're also your currency. So you're going to be taking them into your hand, and then you're going to be either playing them for the action or discarding them for the currency. And across the course of the game, you need to make the most of all of that in order to maximize your points. And so the game will play until either all of the claims have been taken from the deck, or enough sales have happened that 2 of the companies have reached the tops of their tracks. And then whoever's amassed the most points will be the winner.
This game is based on real mining, as I mentioned earlier, in Salton Sea. It is in California near Mexico. So I feel like the actions are quite thematic to the theme. Like you're drilling, you'll be, lay claims, like going down, you'll be extracting brines, you'll be collecting brines and then turning into energies, and then you might need to extract more by using less resources and then breaking your machine.
Yeah, I quite like the way this all fits together thematically. I do like the industrial Euro type of game, and this very much has that feel. So, as I alluded there before, it's really got all of the steps of mining and the economic side of mining and capital investment and so forth. And I think it covers all of that in a really effective Euro way.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
You mentioned the breaking of machines as well, which is a nice little part that I think works quite well. It will cost you money to process your brine, and you can get more out of it for less brine if you work your machines harder and break them.
Yes.
So, and then you have to repair them or you lose points or you can't use them. So I think that, it feels very thematic.
Well, very thematic indeed. Now the artwork, I feel like the artwork is very functional. You can see on the board here, it is very kind of like, I wouldn't say beige, Euro beige. Has got a little bit more color, but it's, it's not a lot of art. It's mainly just graphic designs and basic things. I mean, you can probably see in the cards, there's some artwork in here, which is, it's fine. It's not like outstanding or like breathtaking or anything like that. I think it's fine.
Yeah, I think overall the graphic design works really well in this game. It's got a lot of different actions. Two of the actions are very similar, but you very quickly work out what's what. And everything, I think it's all very straightforward.
And the other things that looks pretty same or similar to other games, which is a good thing, just icons. So there are lots of icons. It's icon based. All actions related to the same thing has got the same icon. So eventually it will be easy to identify shares. So you can buy 2 shares, for example. You can gain contract, you can gain research, and so on. So everything is the same. You just have to get used to it. One thing I need to mention, the back of the claim cards, they are very similar for level 1 and 2. Here they are. So the first time I found out about it, what's the difference? There's no difference. Well, almost only a little bit difference, but they are dots. So level 1 has got 1 dot and level 2 has got 2 dots. That's basically it. Here it is on the table. Level 1 and level 2. There you go. Maybe in camera it's dulling it down a little bit, but in person you can still see the difference, but only a little bit. Now we're gonna get into mechanics. So what are the core actions? We've got hand management, multi-use cards, and individual worker placement. So the multi-use cards can be used as currency or more powerful individual worker placement actions, and then you return to hand at the end of the round. Higher value cards are even more powerful. So there are some tough decisions there, Tarrant, whether to spend it, to spend it as currency, as money, or worker placement space. Yeah,
that's the big hook of this game, is the hand management and action choice mechanism. So there's 13 different actions in the game. It's quite a lot of actions that go through all of those different things we spoke about before. And the funny thing you'll find about them, and it takes a couple plays to really recognize this, is that if you're just taking the actions at their most basic, so if you're using all these basic action spaces on your player board, your actions are almost neutral. You're almost going to come out neutral. It's going to cost you about $6 to produce something that's worth $6.
Yeah, plus an action.
Plus an action or 3 actions or 4 actions. Yeah. So,
and fixing the breaking machine as well.
Yeah, so you get into the game, you try to work out where is my value here. But where it comes down to is that every action that you have on a player board has an equivalent slightly more powerful action on a $1 card, which then has an equivalent slightly more powerful action on a $3 card, which then has an equivalent slightly more powerful action on a $5 card, which then on top of that may have a research card, which is even more powerful but costs you an extra action to use. And so as you're going through adding cards to your hand as money, you want to be getting big chunks of money because you want to be getting the better versions of the actions, because that's ultimately what's going to make you money. It's going to let you do things in way fewer actions or for discounts. And it's actually the discounts on the higher value cards which is where you're winning and getting ahead.
Very, very, very much agree with that, because at the start of the game you'll be feeling, oh, I have this much. It's not much at all. Like, I swear, I could not do anything. But then it's kind of like I'm trying to get this whole, I need to get more money, but then I need to spend the money, but then I also need to keep the money because that's a more powerful action points or actions. More powerful action, I should say.
Yeah, if you are spending $6 on something, you need to discard 6 points worth or $6 worth of cards from your hand.
Yes, it could be 5 and 1.
It could be a 5 and 1,
or
but
3 and 3.
the likelihood of wanting to give up a $5 card because it has such a discount compared with the others is low. So maybe you've gathered a whole lot of 1 point cards over time, or 3 and 3 1s. That is the real thing you're trying to manage. So that's really the thing that stands out as different in this game. I think once you come to the what and the why we're doing all of this, it's all stuff we've seen before. So you are getting resources, you can sell them to a market, or you can get contracts and you can sell them to those contracts, and selling them to the market is money and selling them to the contracts is points and benefits.
Yeah.
And then there's a share market element as well. So the more people sell to one company, the more valuable the shares in that company are. So yeah, none of that is new. It's all fairly typical stuff that works really well and thematically in this game.
Yes.
But it is the thing that stands out is that hand management.
Absolutely.
Right, so now we'll talk about the balance between the individual game versus the interactive game. And I think it leans very much more on the individual side. The whole thing is a personal hand management puzzle, really. You're doing worker placement on your own board, so you're never blocking each other's actions out. And you need to, because you've only got one action space on your board per meeple, and you can only use each card once per turn, really it's all about optimizing what cards do I need at what times and how do I get them from the main board.
That is the main personal puzzle of the game.
So now we'll talk about what's individual in this game versus what's interactive. And from an individual standpoint, we spoke before about the hand management element of the game. It is a very personal puzzle. All of your action spaces, all of your cards are your own. And I think what I found is that if you're going to do well or mess yourself up, it's very much going to be messing yourself up. There's not too many ways I feel that I can harm your game necessarily.
Well, maybe there are some actions that really need to upgrade, but then you take it away. Because when you gain money, you can only gain it from the face-up cards display. And when that's gone, that's gone.
Yeah, you're most likely to get into... There's a few little urgency battles in the game. So each round, as you say, there's a limited pool of money combined with pool of actions that you're going from. And it's all there, and it changes through relatively frequently, but in a given round, it's a fight for the specific ones you want. There's a little bit of urgency on the share tracks because there are some bonus tokens, and whoever gets them first gets the best pick of them. And by the end of the track, there's only a limited number as well. There's also end-of-game objectives at the top of the board. There'll be 5 objectives. They're either a race to be the first to achieve something, or they'll be whoever has the most. So they're all very directly interactive objectives that you have to chase for. And so from that perspective, that can feel quite cutthroat. There's a lot of those things where you're going to be rewarded for getting to something sooner. However, if you end up in a giant heap and your game falls apart and your engine falls apart, it's going to be your fault. It's going to be that you've spent too many cards, too many of your good actions, and you've left yourself with nothing.
I've left myself in a giant heaps of time. Heaps of time. It's just like I'm in that hole and I cannot get out. Sorry, I'm just like imagining a giant heap of beep. Sorry, yes, continue, Tarrant.
And for players who do really like the personal puzzle side of things and the hand and deck management side, there's a lot of that in here because we spoke before about there is a real balance between going for the very high value cards to get the better actions, but also making sure you've got enough low cards to pay for stuff because you don't get change.
No.
If you've got all $5 cards in your hand and you get a bunch of $2 and $3 actions, you're going to be overpaying for them all. So you want to have this nice balance of $1 cards, maybe $1 cards with actions you don't take very often, and then $5 cards that are going to give you big incentives and so on. So that is going to be a really interesting puzzle for people who like that sort of thing.
The next point of review is who this game is potentially for and why. What do you think? Who do you think this game is for, Tarrant?
I think this is going to appeal pretty widely across the modern Euro gamer. It's very much in that style of much more individual, less interaction, and the puzzle of trying to work out how you build a manager engine. It's such a big part of the industry these days, and I think this is a really interesting version of it. It's something new which we haven't seen before.
No. Yep.
And I expect it to be pretty widely popular across the Euro suite of players.
I kind of agree with that. Well, multiplayer solitaire, but not as solitaire. There's these interesting new mechanics if you're looking for, or something new, something intuitive. Is this, if you like multi-use cards, this is like, it's the most multi-use as ever, right?
It's a very stark multi-use. Yeah. The difference between hanging onto it for the action or trashing it just as currency. Like, we're very used to trashing low value cards, but having to trash them as currency and having to trash high value ones to make high cost actions work it's a really tight puzzle.
It is. And probably one more thing is someone who loves the industry theme. So I know. Eurogamer is not really big on theme usually, but considering we mentioned earlier that the theme works well in this game, and if you like the industry theme, which I am actually personally getting attracted more and more games with industry theme comes out, then this might be it. Now we get to the other similar games, if any. We're gonna mention two games here that kind of feel similar. First one is Expeditions.
I remember when we reviewed Expeditions last year, and I spoke a lot about seeing something very new with that game, because it combined the Concordia hand management type of game with a game where you have to aggressively thin your cards to get points. So it took, I'd seen plenty of games do what Valley of the Kings and Tyrants of the Underdark had done in terms of taking, you have to get the cards out of your deck to score them. But I'd never seen that done with the Concordia action pool building. And this really does that as well. You're constantly managing an action pool set of cards and having to thin them out to take the actions. But it does it in such a more aggressive way than that. The fact, we've said it already, the fact that you need the high value cards, you need enough cards to pay for things.
Absolutely.
So it takes what Expeditions did and really amps it up.
Yeah. And the second game that we think it feels a little bit like it is Oh My Goods by Alexander Pfister. This is an older game. The game has multi-use cards in a different way, but you can use card as factory for your engine build, or you can discard as resources, so gone, or the cards that are there to produce the building, the production is actually the same cards. So just that multi-use card in that currency way, not the same, but kind of like currency cards, kind of the same way. So how this game makes us feel, so the way the game makes us feel, I was really struggling. I mean, the first few games, the first few rounds, no money whatsoever. I have a few dollars in my hand. I need the stronger actions to make things better, but in order to do that, I need to sell and then gain money. It's like, where do I start? I need more money, but I also need more actions. But then I do not have the stronger actions when I don't have money, because they're basically the same thing, right? So the mistakes can be very brutal. It's hard to get it out of a hole, and not a lot of options to get good money in the first few rounds.
Yeah, overall I felt like there was a lot of frustration in the game, and a lot of it was self-imposed frustration because you haven't quite got the engine going and it could harm you. And I felt like there was a solution out there, and it was kind of, you could calculate it by brute force without anyone else doing that much to you. So Yeah, for me, it didn't have the interactive feel that I like out of my games. I'll definitely say that I really respect the innovation that they've done with the mechanisms here. I think it's really clever what they've done with the action cards and money.
Very, yeah.
But I didn't love the way it made me feel when we played.
That's fair. Maybe I should interrupt you by flipping your board. Huh. So I definitely respect the innovation. It's really clever. I would definitely play it again. I would definitely try. I mean, there's still different ways to victory, so that means that they are still replayable this day to play the games again. I would like to see different ways of, maybe I should just completely ignore the machine just breaking down and then focus on the shares, for example, and so on, or which share. And again, different objectives coming out each game. That also brings to the replayability.
Yes.
And that's our 7-point review of Salton Sea. Please let us know if you want more of these videos, and have a great day. Bye.